Morning world, it's about 5:45 a.m. on the 17th of May 2016. This is my take on Mercury transiting retrograde through the ninth house. The ninth house is the area of the sky that deals basically with the area of the chart between midday and 1 p.m. and it deals with the ninth sign's attributes more manifested in the physical world. The ninth sign is the sign of Sagittarius, so the ninth house deals with issues around foreign travel, higher education, philosophical understanding, religion, belief systems, things like this. It's the opposite of Gemini, the third house, which is where Mercury is at its strongest. So Mercury doesn't really like being in the ninth house that much, because Mercury deals with the details, whereas the ninth house sees the bigger picture. Here's my take on it. When Mercury stations and goes retrograde in your ninth house, a number of different impressions will begin to make themselves felt. Firstly, your normal capacity to see and work with the world in bite-sized chunks will be diminished. So you'll have to get used to dealing with things at the more micro level. The ninth house sees the big picture and the philosophies that lie behind things. But when Mercury is retrograde here, then there's a need to deal with the fine-tuning as much as there is with the bigger picture. Make sure you get all the details right at the grassroots level, knowing that by doing so, the bigger side of things will naturally progress. This will give you a more integrated and assimilated version of how things are working, as opposed to dealing with individual items, symptoms, people, or influences. The next 3 weeks is not a time for rushing, more a time for getting things right and for checking the functionality and effectiveness of the normally invisible fine-tuning. If you feel that you've temporarily lost sight of the big picture, don't worry too much. It will return again by the end of the Mercury retrograde, but in a different form, or slightly different form, to that to which you've become used. As Mercury gets going on its retrograde journey through the ninth house, so visions and ideas of the future will change. Old truths may resurface to be amended in some way, or new ideals and philosophies may surface to be worked with, at least temporarily. Your ethical stance on things may come up for examination, perhaps manifesting in some form of crisis of honesty, where telling the real truth may hurt someone, and it's easier, but perhaps more duplicitous, to not be totally honest. It's a good time to experiment with different attitudes towards truth in a number of different environments and situations, whilst at the same time keeping your conscience clean and living life as transparently as possible. To quote a Buddhist dictum, "You are what you think, having become what you thought. So consider future options well. Your personal beliefs will go a long way towards creating your future, and what you do now will affect long-term outcomes. So do your best to walk your talk and live life according to your personal beliefs and philosophies, even if they are in a state of transformation. Keep within the letter of the law and deal with all authority issues as fast and as easily as possible. You may also find that your ideas around further or higher education go through a metamorphosis where the idea of gaining more refined knowledge or a higher qualification can become very desirable, although this should not be confirmed until well after the retrograde passage is over. Write new ideas down, as by the end of this retrograde process you may have forgotten them. It's a great time for revision, editing, proofreading and tweaking existing work. Bearing in mind this transit applies to people who were born with either Leo or Virgo rising, because if so, then Mercury is retrograde in your ninth house. Be aware that travel plans, especially those lasting more than a day or so, are unlikely to work out as planned. So always factor in an element of flexibility so that you've got a bit of slack in your schedule. It helps to keep the essentials, passport, money, laptop, change of clothes, in a shoulder bag with close to you, as luggage can easily go walkabout during the retrograde process. And as Mercury stations and starts going forward again in the ninth house, so recent uncertainties will fade by the wayside. and your overview returns, although in a different way than previously experienced. During recent weeks, you've corrected small details that will seep into the bigger picture and change the overall scenario, if only slightly. So what remains now is a truer version of yourself and the ways in which you believe and work. So go out into the world again with your head held high, knowing that you can walk your talk with a greater sense of moral and ethical pride. Your version of truth impacts greatly on the ways you live your life. So get it as refined and as clear as you can. There you go, folks, from the new book on Mercury, which hopefully will be out come Christmas. Have a great day. Moon's not void. It's a good day today. The moon's in Libra all day. Enjoy. Bye.